everyone, this is Mrs. Hamilton and I'm here with another art project. Today we're making heart yarn designs or yarn designs. It does not necessarily have to be a heart. I have several templates. I will have a file attached down in the details where you can print out a template, and we're going to use this to help us cut out of our cardboard. Other materials that you're going to need are going to be some kind of cardboard. Here today I'm using a thinner cereal box because it's easier to cut, but any cardboard will work great. You're also going to need some yarn, okay? Any type of yarn, whatever colors you choose, whatever colors you want to use to decorate your design. And then the other thing you're going to need some glue, which I'm going to be putting the glue on a paper plate and using something to spread it. Anything that maybe an old paintbrush or a cheap sponge stick like I have here works really, really great. All right, guys, this is going to be a really fun project, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. Okay, for this first step in our project, you will need to print a heart template, or if you know how to draw out a basic heart just on your cardboard, you could do that, but I like using the template. Just helps out, keep a nice clean heart. I forgot to mention in my materials that you're also going to need scissors for cutting, so you might want to bring those out as well. I'm going to take, I actually have several different shapes here. I have a smaller heart and a bigger heart. I'm going to be using the smaller heart. I have a star, a rainbow. That's a very big rainbow. Probably will make a smaller one just in case. And then a square, because a square could be really great for making things like landscapes or some other, maybe an animal of some sort. So, just, whatever you want to do, but I'm sticking with a heart because my thoughts about this project is that it would be used for a Mother's Day project. Something to give to your mother, or maybe an important woman in your life. Maybe it is a grandmother. Maybe it is an aunt. Maybe it is a family friend who is really important to you and your family to celebrate that Mother's Day. So I would like you, once you have your template printed out, you're going to take your scissors. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut the template out first, because we're actually going to be using it to trace around. So I'm taking my scissors and very carefully, if it's not exactly perfect, that's okay. It's still the end result of our picture. Our yarn design is going to look amazing. Any bumps in your drawing or your cutout will be hidden with the yarn. Okay, after you cut out your template, you're going to find a pencil. You need a pencil to use to trace. So this actually can be used multiple times, this tracer. And I want to make sure, do I want to cut this in the middle of my box? Do you think that is a good choice? No, I think that is not a good choice, because what if later on you want to do a bigger heart and you have no more space because you cut your little heart out of the middle of your box? So it's a good idea to find a corner or an edge. And I would stay away from the creases on the box, because the crease, it might fold up in ways that you don't want in the middle of your design. So you want a flat area on your box, and you want to take your heart and you want to trace around it. Now, because I used copy paper to print this on, this heart is very thin and moves around. So you just want to be careful. If you want to use a crayon, you could use a crayon to trace. That is also a good option. Okay, I'm going to take my tracer and put it somewhere safe because I might use it again. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to start by just cutting out around a little bit so it's a smaller shape, because it's much easier to cut thicker paper or something that is like cardboard when it is a little smaller. So here I have it a little smaller. So then I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut around the heart shape that I drew. And I'm taking my time because it is a thicker paper and I want this to look nice when it's done. Okay, so this is just an extra step that you do not necessarily have to do, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I decided to take black paint because I want the back to blend in and not be as noticeable, and bright colors on top of this dark black background will really pop. So I could even do it on the same color on both sides, but I'm gonna do a different color on the other side. So I'm going to quickly paint this and then I'll be back. All right, I am all done. I decided to paint 2 hearts because I'm going to show you 2 different ways to add your yarn or make a design on your heart background. So I'm going to put one of the hearts away just for a little bit and bring out after they're dry. You want to make sure, now you can see on this side actually is the cardboard, which I'm going to do something to later. And then I painted with black. You do not have to use black. You can use something else, but I felt like it would be a really great paint color for this, so some of the colors would blend nicely. Okay, so I poured some glue and I brought out some of the yarn. I'm using this sort of neon black yarn. It actually was one whole roll of yarn, and it was the type of yarn that changes colors. So I cut them into smaller strips to use, but you do not have to do this. You can, keep like for instance, my strips are a little bit on the long side. I'll probably cut these a little bit in half to use, and you will need scissors for this. Okay, so to cut your yarn later on, especially when you're all done. Okay, and then the next thing you want to do is you want to think of the type of pattern you want to create. Do you want to just randomly put colors? You could, or do you want to create a color pattern, which means you are repeating the colors in a particular order. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do some kind of color pattern. I'm going to take a little bit of glue. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to take a little bit of this glue and just sort of dab it on, and I'm on a mat, so even if it gets on a little bit on the mat, no big deal. And I'm just going to dab a good space. I can always add more if it gets dry as I work. And I'm planning to go across. And like I said, this technique is the easier type, where I'm going to take just the strips and I'm just going to lay them over like that and press just a little bit. And I'm going to take another color and I'm trying to get them as close as possible to each other. And I'm going to tap. And you want to make sure you have enough glue because you want it to really stick good. I feel like I need, especially on those edges, you want to make sure. You could tap a little more glue even if it's on there. Okay. And some of you might be wondering, well, why aren't you following the shape? Well, that's because I'm gonna cut later on around the heart to clean it up. So I'm not really too concerned about my pieces that are hanging off the edge. And I can even roll them so they're a little tighter together. But the reason why I painted the heart black is so even if there's a little tiny bit of space, I'm okay because you can't really see, and the black will add to the details. So I'm pressing, and as my glue dries, I want to add more glue. And it's okay that while you're adding more glue, a little bit gets on the yarn. So you can kind of see my color pattern. So it's blue, purple, neon green, pink, and then black. And I'm going to repeat that. Now, if you want to change it up part of the way, you can. But I'm going to stick to this general pattern. And I'm going to keep doing it until I get to the very end. So I started a little bit of this. I'm going to come back to it, but I want to show you the other technique. So I'm going to take this yarn. I will bring it back. Like I said, I'm going to do both of these projects. And if you want to do both, you can. If you have more than one person you'd like to give it to, or you'd like to make one for yourself, maybe they're matching. There's an idea. You most certainly could. I'm going to put that to the side for a couple minutes. I'm going to bring over the other heart so I can show you the other example. And this time, instead of going across, we're gonna go around and around and around the heart. So this time we are gonna follow the edge of the heart. So when you put your layer of glue, you actually want to go around the heart shape. Now you could do a little bit and then keep adding more glue. I want to make sure I got lots of glue on here. I really want that yarn to stick well. And I'm going to do half the heart to start. And honestly, this way that I'm going to be doing it, you could do it all kinds of different ways, to be honest. Okay, still going to need those scissors. I'm bringing the other colored yarn that I have, and I'm going to start with pink. And I'm going to do a color pattern, but this pink is going to start off by being going around the outer edge. So I'm taking it and pressing, pulling and press as soon as you have it. And even if it's not right, you can push it a little bit to get it just in place. Keep in mind though, until the glue dries, this stuff can be moved. This yarn can be moved around and placed where you need it. So I am going around, and I'm going to go all the way around, but I just want to kind of show you, I would go all the way. I'll do this first step, and then you guys can continue on your own working, because this is one of those things where you just gotta work at it. Okay, so I am adding, I'm gonna need a little extra glue on my plate here soon. I'm gonna add a little there, and I also might add some there. Now, if you run out of your yarn color before you get to the end, you could take the same yarn color and just bump the ends up to each other. But sometimes what will happen is the yarn will be longer than the shape, and I'm gonna sort of wrap and then press it so it makes another layer on the inside. It kind of reminds me of when we do coiling with clay, where you coil the clay, and then you, for coil bowls, we go around and around, and when we hit the end, we go on top and we keep wrapping with the same shape. So it kind of reminds me of that. And then I'm gonna push, because every once in a while you wanna sort of press this down like that, and you can see, and I'm gonna keep going. I might switch colors. You could do rainbow. Now the next color rainbow would be orange. So I'm gonna take the end of this orange and bump it up to where I stopped and continue the line. And I'm gonna keep going around and around. It's gonna get smaller and smaller until I end. Now when I end it, which I will come back and I'll kind of show you as I'm working, when I get to the end, I'm gonna just cut off the excess and put a little extra glue, okay? So I'm gonna take a few minutes to work on both of these projects. I'll be back, and we'll talk about how to finish it up, and then what to do to the back, because I have some suggestions on how to decorate the back of your heart and also make it where it hangs. So it's going to be really cute and a really nice little gift, or just a cute decoration to hang up. All right, I'll be back in a little bit. I am almost done with the heart, where I went around and around, and as I got to the middle, it gets really, really tricky, because trying to bend the yarn and keep it to stay down it doesn't like that. So a little trick, one thing you could do is just sort of snip the end, press the end down, and then add to the center with another, just a little piece of yarn. You don't have to keep wrapping it for it to work. So if I go in, snip a little more, and oops, I need a little glue there. Add a little glue, and then keep adding a few little pieces until I get that whole thing finished. And I feel like I need one tiny little piece right in the middle. I'm just gonna add this in right here. And the excess, I'm gonna take my scissors, snip, and push so it sticks down. So just for those of you who are doing, this is the harder design, just because you're having to keep going around and around, and you want to keep your lines clean. But when you get to the center, like I said, just start cutting them into smaller pieces and just layer the smaller pieces in the middle. All right, this has got to dry for a little bit. I'm going to put this away. All right, so here is the one where I did lines. This is the easier design. And it is pretty dry at this point, not really moving around, especially this little end piece. On the back, you can see where the heart is. So I'm at the point where I'm ready to do a little trimming to make this look a little nicer. So I'm gonna take my scissors. I'm flipping to the back so I can see easier. And I'm gonna take and trim carefully around the edge. Now, yep, and then if something falls off, you can just glue it back on, not a problem. Oh, see? Ooh, that's looking good. And then a little bit in there. Now for the other design, this one right here, which I should probably move out of the way a little bit because it's getting, I want to get. This one, you won't have to do any trimming because you stayed within the shape. Ooh, that turned out so good. Oh, that's so cute. I'm just sort of cleaning up the edges here and there. Some of you might need to do this just to make it. And remember I told you that it's okay if you trace the heart and it's not perfectly rounded or perfect, it doesn't have a perfect edge, because if you notice, the yarn covers that up quite a bit. Now, another thing you could do, I'm leaving mine pretty much as is when it comes to design, but you could take another piece of yarn and just edge around, like right here, just to give it a nice edge or something like that. You could glue this down on a piece of paper and it could be a card of some sort. There's all kinds of things you can do with this, but I'm making this into sort of a hanging decoration. So the last thing before we do anything on the back, you could go back over this with glue to shellac it. So basically, you're adding a layer of glue. Now, I would recommend if you have Mod Podge, Mod Podge is probably the best for this, or even adding a little watered down glue just to loosen it up, because like for instance, this stuff is really thick and you might, it might make a big mess. All right, I made a watery gluey solution. So basically I have this little cup, I have a lid for it. It's a Ziploc cup. And I put water probably about halfway, maybe about halfway. And then I just poured glue and I mixed until I kind of got this kind of liquidy, gluey consistency. Just sort of showing you the consistency. This, by the way, this is something that your parents will probably want to do for you and help you with if you want to shellac your heart. So I'm going to take this solution and you see how much easier, oh my gosh, it goes on way easier when it's a thinner consistency to shellac those hearts. And what it'll do, it'll keep from the yarn unweaving a little bit, and it should give it even a little bit of a glossy texture and kind of a plasticky feel. So I'm going to take a few minutes to shellac, and I'll probably do a couple layers. Again, this is optional, this step, very optional, only if you have the supplies to do it. If you don't worry about it. It'll be okay. All right. So I'll be back and we're going to talk about what to do on the back of our hearts. I am all done. My two hearts are all dry on the front and I'm ready to flip over and do something to the back. Now you could just leave it plain cardboard and take some markers and decorate and leave a message. The other option is to cover it with some paper. But before I do that, I want to make it so that these can hang. So I'm going to use I have pulled 2 strings that I already had, and I have some washi tape, but honestly any tape will do. It's just what I have on hand. And I'm taking a piece of the washi tape. Now I'm going to find a way to where you can leave this where it looks exposed, or you could cover it with the paper that we're going to add. So your choice, whichever way you want to go. So I'm looping the string, see, and I'm keeping the 2 ends. Now you could knot it just to give it a little extra support. I'm just going to tape it flat to the back right in the middle because I'm going to be gluing it down and so that it will be hidden soon. Okay. All right. And I'm taking this one too, looping it so it sits right about here. Take a little tape. Any tape is fine. And taping it on. Okay. Like this so that it hangs. See? So far it's hanging. All right, now, after I do that, I'm going to put these to the side for just a couple minutes. I'm taking my tracer out again, and I have this bright pink cardstock. It's a thicker paper. You can use construction paper, and I'm going to do what I did before, which is I'm going to trace around the heart using the template, and then I'm going to cut 2 of these out. So I'm doing 2 hearts for both of my backgrounds. So I'm going to do that for a moment. Okay, so here are my 2 cutout hearts. They're going to go on top of the back and the tape. Before I do that, I'm going to take maybe a marker of some sort and write a message. Let's see here. Let's do this purple. We could do colored marker. To Mom. Or I heart you, Mom. I don't know. You can put whatever message you choose. It's your choice. It's to your special someone. All right. So after you have your hearts, you could do this after too. I mean, I just did it because I wanted it to be done and ready to go. I'm going to take a little glue, just a dot, not a whole lot. You want to go just right around the edge and maybe a tiny bit in the middle. I have a glue with a thicker nozzle, but it's still the rules. Just a dot, not a lot. Go around the edge, and I'm gluing it to the back so that it hides the string. Isn't that nice? Aw. And also it just gives the back a little more of an interesting design. Looks nicer, more clean, more finished. I'm gonna do this one too. Don't want to go too crazy with your glue. Just a little bit. Goes a long way. All right, so here is my finished hearts. Don't they look great? I love how they turned out. And then with the covered back, that really turned out really nice. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I certainly hope if you give these as gifts that they enjoy it as well. All right, guys, I'll see you next time, and keep creating.